All right, and we are live. Welcome, everybody. Get started here. Welcome, everybody, to our 23rd TAN Council reoccurring meeting. For today's meeting, we will have a look at our current TAN IPs and give a brief heads up regarding elections as we round off with some open Q&A. So open, probably not elections, but open seats. Firstly, however, let's start with an overview of the TAN Council and the purpose of these reoccurring meetings. These reoccurring meetings serve 5 critical functions. They provide transparency to our community. They create a structured forum for proposal discussions, enabling authors to present to the council and community and discuss, debate, and refine formal proposals and voting with consensus. They enable regular platform updates. They ensure consistent communication amongst council members. And finally, they allow direct community engagement through question and answer sessions. The TAN Council is a local governance organization within the Telcoin platform. Together, we serve as a provider and administrator of collective goods and services within the jurisdictional domain of the Telcoin Application Network, or TAN. The TAN Council, with our 6 members, makes decisions related to TAN improvements and policies through the TAN IP process. We need 5 out of 6 votes to approve proposals within a 120-hour voting period. Our primary duties are to allocate TEL issuance on TAN for stakers and developers to harvest, and to plan and finance the development of the Telcoin application network. Our key responsibilities include reviewing and voting on snapshot proposals, attending these biweekly meetings, providing regular community updates, monitoring TAN systems, enforcing operational rules. We'll use Slack and Trello for day-to-day communications, the forums for informal proposal discussions, these recurring council meetings for proposal discussions as well, deliberation and refinement before snapshot voting for formal voting processes. Overall, the TAN Council has authority over miner harvesting and planning and financial TAN infrastructure. So a quick update here from the last meeting. Last meeting, we discussed the TANIP1 rebate model, and action items were for the community to provide more feedback for us to discuss and consider edge cases, implementation details before building this out. We worked with Marcus and are ready to proceed with taking the proposal to snapshot for voting. If successful, we will then implement this change and roll out the new structure. We also provided an additional explainer on how in practice this looks like on the forums. So you can go to the telcoin.org forums and see the answer to that question of what this looks like from an issuance standpoint. We also ran some on-chain statistics on staking holders and staking amounts and put that in there also. Let's see. And then I think we'll turn it over to any potential considerations or edge cases with the TANIP1 rebate. I don't think there's many, but Leo, if you want to just touch on that.
Yeah, I had a chat with Marcus earlier, and we kind of went through it, and it's because it's basically just an add-on to the existing structure. We don't see many kind of second-order effects. The only one we really thought of was people will reach their initial cap, so the original cap, a bit slower, just because we're expecting less issuance across the board. But yeah, we don't really see that as an issue. The one thing that will be interesting to note is what kind of criteria we want to consider, or when, based on our report, we saw that we kind of concluded that the original implementation was likely to work at scale and would be good in that case. And this is kind of more of a temporary measure. It'll be interesting now when we implement this to kind of shift our attention towards what will be the signs in the data that it's time to kind of switch back. And at what point do we think we have kind of reached scale to the level that the old model was actually preferred. But that's kind of future work. I think at this point in time, we're all good to go, and we'll be voting on it. Yeah, vote should be up on Snapshot soon, and then we'll just have to kind of implement it. It's not a huge lift, but you know, got to check and double check and test it all properly. So yeah, bear with us.
Cool. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I think it's just a really, I'm assuming we can probably run some at scale simulations for how it was before and just really take a look at tweaking or whatever else with that before we do a rollout and have a few ideas there so that any sort of referral modifier will work. But I looked at the code really briefly. And I think, you know, and I'll put in a edit suggestion or whatever on GitHub for Marcus to look at, but it's pretty simple. It's literally just a few lines of code edit that just are basically negate the using the modifier of the referral, not the referrals, but the measuring of wallet prior issuance based on the referral amount. So it shouldn't be much. I have to look at it again, but it should be a pretty easy thing to do pretty quickly. So I don't think it'll be much. Marcus could probably do it with his eyes closed, but me, it might take a little more.
Yeah, he is a bit of a beast.
Yeah, on top of that, some of the other. So just as a recap for those of you that may have not been following along with what this proposal is for, go to the telcoin.org/forums, and we'll post this probably to the X account as well when we move it to Snapshot so people can review it. But we want your feedback if you have anything. But this is a restart of the original TANIP 1 fee rebate program, which thank you, Leo, put it right there. Which essentially in that version, it was a program that was designed to reward issuance of TEL for activity fees generated on the network between retail users of the network and then anyone that was their referral. Since then we that was about a 30-week period. We did a probably about a 2-month pause while we reviewed the data, and this is now kind of a restart of this program in a different iteration where we will be essentially airdropping to those people that are doing swaps on the Telcoin wallet up to the amount of Telcoin that you generated during your trading fees. So if you spent 5,000 Telcoin making swaps through the Telcoin wallet, you would, as long as you have 5,000 Telcoin staked or more, you would receive 5,000 Telcoin airdrop. So it covers those fees. It is important to note that you must have Telcoin staked equal to or more than the total sum of your trading fees. So if you trade, this example is on the forums as well, but if you trade, let's say the first week you generate 5,000 in trading fees and you receive 5,000 in rebates, and you have 5,000 Telcoin staked. If you do not stake more and you do the same thing next week, you will have reached your cap. So you have now generated 10,000 in trading fees with only 5,000 staked. You will not get any rewards. So the idea is that you have to continue to stake more. It's called a lifetime issuance cap in order to receive these rewards. This is done automatically, and it is what was our cadence? This is every 24 hours after every Wednesday, right? Wednesday at 0.00.
It's every week, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Wednesday at midnight, yeah.
Yep. So within 48 hours after that time, those airdrops hit the wallets. Now, again, this is only applicable for the Telcoin wallet and swaps on the Telcoin wallet. So just to be clear with that as well. If there's any questions, please ask them in the forums or the chat. But we'll be moving this to Snapshot and getting that vote through, which should be pretty seamless process and activating this back up so we can start getting some more data as we move towards mainnet launch. So on top of that, so that's any questions or anything from anybody in the chat room here or on the stream in that regard, please say so now. Happy to answer anything. Cody's got none. Anybody else? We've talked about this a lot, so I think it'll be okay. If you think of one, you can throw it in the chat room. I'm watching the chat. I can see it across all the streams, so let us know. Next topic that we are going to go over really briefly is just we've been talking about pitch decks. Joe had a question right here. Joe, Telcoin wallet is not working for UK users. So Joe, that is, if the wallet isn't working in your jurisdiction, that has everything to do with your local governance. It has nothing really to do with Telcoin per se, or Telcoin from that aspect. But in any instance, if you have issues with the wallet, please open a support ticket on telco.in. There's a support option there where they can assist you with anything there or answer any questions that you may have with that product. It's the best route to do so. But yeah, if you have anybody else, just let us know. One other thing that we were working on is some pitch decks or one pagers for the developers. So the concept is that to have some material available if we have a company asks, well, what's the benefit for me to develop on your blockchain versus somebody else's? And we're building out some graphics internally and some making sure that the mission statement or the value statement, the value proposition is well stated and vetted really well. Thanks, Dally, for posting that link. And we want to make sure that this is just a call out if anybody has experience with or any questions about developing on the network. If you are aware of any developers looking to build a white label app or looking to understand what use case, we'd be happy to discuss with them. You can email the developer, this group, the developer seat at devs@telcoin.org is the best way to reach us. We'd be happy to set up a meeting and discuss anything, but we are working on trying to get some actual finite documents out there. And ideally something that we could give to like a stripped down version that the community could use just to give to somebody who's interested, and then obviously a more in-depth version that would be kind of confidential as we kind of maybe go through that process with the developer and walk through what some of the benefits would be in that case. So the community is one of our really our greatest assets, and we really, if anybody has any experience building pitch decks, any graphic, I'm not a graphic designer by trade. I can muddle my way through it with some tools, so I'm trying to work with this with Storm and some others, but this, I kind of took this on because it's a project of mine that I really wanted to do. But if anybody has some of that graphic experience, we'd love to potentially see about that. And then also if anybody has any leads for developers on the network, anybody that is curious on use cases, you can always point them to the game company and PowerHive as two of the announced developers on the network right now. And there's many different use cases. We had a few internal conversations this week about some companies that were asking some questions, and one of the developers gave a really nuanced and thought out response. Well, this is some of the ways that how it would benefit them to build on our network. So lots of opportunities out there. A lot of internal discussions. This next few months is going to be pretty exciting. So please message us. Again, that's Dally, if you could just throw it up there. It's devs@telcoin.org, please. That'd be awesome. That's the website we can be reached at. Anyone else have anything else that we needed to go over from a TAN perspective? Obviously not a ton going on right now without the network being live, but that's all going to ramp up here very shortly with these rewards programs restarting. So next meeting, we'll probably start looking at some of that data. If we have some, it might be a little inconclusive at that point, just to kind of see what the network activity looks like on the wallet, and we'll go from there. But any other questions here in the chat? Anything else we need to go over? All right. Well, I don't see any questions in the chat either. This might be a record for one of our shorter meetings, but that's totally okay. I think we will, if we miss something, you have a question, please, again, you can reach us on all the socials and anywhere else in that email. Love to be talking to some more developers if you have anybody. Here's a question, and I'll let Leo answer this one. Community member asks, is the TAN a separate network from the Telcoin network? Is it a layer / stacked on top, or what exactly is the purpose? So Leo, if you just want to explain the whole purpose of the TAN, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So good question, first of all. I like that level of engagement. So the Telcoin network is the blockchain, which is kind of the base layer. And then a lot of the stuff, a lot of the other kind of components of the Telcoin Association are basically built on top of that. So in the case of the TAN, the Telcoin Application Network, it's basically a set of smart contracts, so built on the Telcoin network. At the moment, it's all built on Polygon, but it will be shifted over to the Telcoin network. And then those smart contracts basically enable application developers to come and build apps and essentially compete for TEL token issuance, which comes from the treasury. So you kind of, in that way, you're kind of incentivizing use of the Telcoin network, and you're creating this flow of TEL through the system. So yeah, to kind of answer your question directly, we're kind of talking about one layer up from the Telcoin network. So pretty base layer stuff, like just simple smart contracts in most cases, all working together and allowing application developers to come and get kind of a unique revenue stream by interacting with those. So hopefully that answers your question.
And they said thank you. Thanks, Leo. That's great. Really good question.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, brings up a good point. It's the whole point of doing these one pagers, to give a more conclusive understanding of how do I explain what the use case is, you know. And I think that's the idea behind the structure and everything else. It is a really unique network structure and everything else. So another question came in. The rewards will now be based on the number of Telcoin staked, not transactional values. No, not necessarily. So the rewards are based on your transactional values. So how much in transactions you had. B, you have to have Telcoin staked in order to earn those rewards. So that is the gatekeeper. So for instance, if I stake 0 and I have 5,000 in rewards, I won't get anything because I have nothing staked. Furthermore, if that's not a week by week basis, the staked amount is a lifetime issuance. So you have to have each week, if you're earning 5,000 in TEL, you have to keep staking more and more in order to earn, or you'll hit that cap and you won't earn. Hopefully that makes sense. Please tell me if it didn't. Maybe somebody else can answer it more clearly.
I think you did a good job. Yeah. But also, it's just to say, it's your trading activity plus your the people you've referred. It all gets totted up.
So the idea is it creates, at scale, creates an ever, in order for people to earn rewards and developers to earn rewards, there's an ever increasing amount of Telcoin that's locked and staked in order for companies and developers and retail users to be eligible for rewards. So you're creating this kind of flywheel effect of what that looks like. And we shared it a few calls back, but I think when we started TANIP 1, we started, and that was the first round of elections in November of 2024. The staked amount, somewhere around 900 million to 1 billion, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Leo. And when we did the last round of elections, the staked amount at that time in the elections was around 4 billion. So there was about 200 to 300 wallets on average that were generating sales there, or generating transactions there. And obviously it's a little bit of a different thing, but it kind of gives you a good idea of kind of how this scales. It's a 4x and stake TEL. That's all locked LP, right? So anytime one of those transactions happens, it uses TEL. When it's on the network, on the Telcoin network, it's using TEL as the gas, which then burns that TEL and it's regenerated as into the council safes as to be used again as rewards issuance. So it's kind of this cyclical effect in the infrastructure and the life cycle of kind of the network. So good question. All right. Any other questions? Open it one more time. Give it a few more seconds, and then we can adjourn for today. All right. Looks like TEL as gas. Yeah, Dali. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool infrastructure. If you ever have questions, anybody has questions on it, please ask. Happy to talk about it. All right. That's it for today.